too.
Yes, yes, he did. Maybe he
Very
could
good.
join us with his voice as well. We will see today. We shall
That's
see.
it.
Yes,
That'll
I
be cool.
see. Ruth is here as well, and Fernando. I see soon they might join. Maybe Felipe as well. We're very happy to be here with you, dear friends. We are here now on YouTube. Philip, is there a question that you would like to ask before we start? Something on Ruth is
I
here. Yes, 1 second. Yes, yes, Philip.
no, I don't have any questions. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Hmm. And Ruth, good morning, Ruth. We're very happy that
Hi,
you're here.
hi.
Hi,
How are
how
you
are?
all doing?
We're fine.
I'm doing I'm doing good, thank you.
Good
I'm
to
doing
hear.
good.
Good to hear your
Not too
voice.
bad, thanks.
Good, good. Ruth, do you have any question that you'd like to ask before we start? Something on your mind?
Yes, I would like to ask you to qualify something you said last session. I didn't quite understand.
Yes.
It was we mentioned towards the end of the session about the solar year and the lunar year.
Yes.
And I understood that the solar year represented the divine speech,
Yes. Yes, true.
and then the lunar year represented. I may have written this down incorrectly, but I wrote down represented the unconscious.
True.
Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
How does one classify the idea of? Is it because the unconscious is a dark place?
Yes. Of
Oh,
course. Of course.
okay.
Yes. Yes.
And if the solar year is the conscience,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean that the divine word should be the one that we should always be having in our conscience?
Yeah. Yes. Can you please ask again because Fernando joined as well this class, and can you please repeat your question?
Yes, I was asking about the solar year and the lunar year and the difference between them. I could understand that the solar year was divine speech because it was the brightness of the divinity, the spirit. And the lunar year was the unconscious. And so that I was asking, is that an element of darkness within us that does not always come to the surface?
Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Excellent.
Okay, that's and would it be that that our unconscious should be changed by the divine speech?
Excellent. It is always changing. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you very
You're
much.
most welcome. Very happy for your questions, Ruth.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning, Fernando. Can you hear us?
Shalom, good evening, Eti, Ruth, Philip, and friends. I can hear you.
Shalom,
And
shalom.
thank you for repeating the question, Ruth. Shalom, Eti.
Shalom, shalom. Any questions, Fernando, before we start?
Yeah, I'm ready to listen to follow the flow of the class. Yes.
Thank you. We have today, let's pop into the whiteboard. We have two texts today, which are parallel to each other. One of them is Genesis 12. In Genesis 12, Abram and Sarai approaching Egypt. This is Genesis 12. And Genesis 20, it's another episode, few years later, when Abraham and Sarah are dwelling in the land of Gerar, in the land of the Plishtim or Philistines depend of how we are pronouncing those words, the names. I would like us to read both texts, one after the other or parallel to the other, and see how those two texts resonate with Ruth's questions for today. So now we shall look for a volunteer to read Genesis chapter 12. Who is volunteering to read in English?
I'll make over that.
Thank you. Do you see the letters clearly?
I do. I'm just zooming in at the moment. Now the Lord said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto the land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and be thou a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and him that curseth thee will I curse. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So Abram went as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram went 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, unto the terebinth of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And he builded there an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence unto the mountain of the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Ai on the east. And he builded there an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was sore in the land. And it came to pass, when he was come near to enter into Egypt, then he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon, and it will come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they will say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but thee they will keep alive. Say, I pray thee, thou art my sister, that it may be well for me for thy sake, and that my soul may live because of thee. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair. And the princes of Pharaoh saw her, and praised her to Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he dealt well with Abram for her sake. And he had sheep and oxen, and he asses, and men servants, and maidservants, and she asses, and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues, because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why saidst thou, She is my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go thy way. And Pharaoh gave men charge concerning him, and brought him on the way, and his wife, and all that he had.
Thank you so much for reading. Now, a little question. What is happening in this chapter? Who would like to summarize it for us? Simple summary. Yeah.
We have here the first. It starts with the Lech Lecha, and the Lord said unto Abraham to get out of the country, of the children, and of the father house, and he receives a promise to be a great nation.
Mhm.
And so we can see this movement from Abraham to leave all from his old life
Mhm.
behind and move on. And after we have the episode about the famine in the land,
Mhm.
and he had to go to Egypt.
Mhm.
So he went to Egypt, and he sees his wife Sarai as someone beautiful and call her sister. Uh, and we have the episode with the Pharaoh, and he's coming back to the land after the expulsion from Egypt.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, a general question to all of us. When you think or when you hear the word famine or hunger. Good morning, Shelton. I'm very happy to see you here. When we think, or each and every, thank you. When we think about the word famine or hunger, what comes to our mind? Please flow with what comes to you.
Um, lack of lack of the nutrients we need to sustain life, a hunger for something that we desire but somehow are not able to attain or receive.
Thank you. Thank you. Fernando, Rose, Philip, when you think about famine, what comes to you?
For me,
I was
more the current situations, what's happening on the world,
Meaning?
particularly more specific places that we currently have famine, more of a today relation.
Can you please repeat of the word that you were mentioning?
Yes, for when I hear the word famine, I
Yes.
think more particularly just what's going in the world today, today's current famine.
Mhm. Thank you.
Is all that comes to mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Fernando?
the first word that comes to my mind is the same as Shelton. It is the lack of something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just wondering because we know that the land means the desire, means
Mm-hmm.
the will, right?
Yes.
And so I was wondering about this idea on when we are feeling lacking or something, lacking the bread, lacking the divine word, or
Mm-hmm.
something like this.
Yes, let's write the word famine in Hebrew, ra'av, ra'av, and let's look into the value of the letters. Yes, here Resh is 200, Ain is 70, Bet is 2. It is 272. We can also read it as 2 times, or yes, 2 times, or 72. How much is 2 times 72?
144.
144. Excellent. So what is famine according to the Bible, to the Hebrew Bible?
Lacking to be human, maybe.
Yes, the lack of humanity. lack of humanity and the lack of truth. Because 144 is both Adam, human, because human is truth. Amen. So there is a lack of what? There is a lack of truth and there is a lack of humanity. And what happens after verse 10? Let's try to read the story not as historical story, but as a template that speaks about truth and virtue. So there's a lack for truth and for humanity in the will. Ba'aretz. Aretz is not just a land, but Ratzon in the divine will. Aretz. There is a lack for humanity and truth in the divine will. And then Abram goes towards Egypt to dwell there. What does it mean to dwell in Egypt? What Egypt symbolizes? And what does it mean to dwell in Egypt? It's not a historical story.
It is the double
Well-
form.
It is, again,
The form, it is the form, the exile, the 400, everything is related with Egypt. It's Chaim.
now please look at the word heavy, because here it says that the famine is heavy. Yes, famine was sore, like strong, sore, strong, sore. In Hebrew it says heavy, heavy. What is the value of heavy or sore in Hebrew?
It.
Yes, 26. 26. Now, what does it mean that there's a sore hunger or sore famine if sore is 26? And 26 is the tetragrammaton. We can also write the name in a certain way. Tetragrammaton. What is the problem here? Because it's not about, let's say, people are short in, let's say, fuel or something. What is happening here? What is the difference between being and becoming? And why Abraham needs to go to Egypt?
So being would be something that you already are,
Yes,
and becoming is something that you will be in the future.
yes, yes. Weinrev was writing that being is like we're dreaming or sleeping. We don't need to do anything. It's like a tree. He's there. But it becomes heavy. The being becomes heavy because there is no change. Nothing comes into a form. So to speak, there is no development. There is no appearance in time. So where do they go? If being is a transparent, is being Being is a transferring, just being, like a baby who is sleeping. But it is so around them. Nothing is happening. This is just being. Where do they go to live?
Yes, they go to the they to the realm that they can see,
Yes.
the manifested realm,
Yes, yes.
without considering, as you said, without considering the godly realm, the spiritual realm, because there is there's no word there.
Excellent.
The-
They're excellent. There is no word. This is excellent. Yes. 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 And what happens when they approach Egypt in verse 11? What happens? I show the Hebrew, but here's the English that will help you. What happens? They're approaching Egypt. What happens?
Well, they begin to decline in their well, Abraham begins to decline in his thought pattern and begins to sink deeper into a heaviness in a way, because he's now prepared to disguise the truth, to move totally from the truth by saying Sarah is his sister, although they were related. His motive is deceit.
Thank you. Would you like to hear what Philon says about this verse? This is very interesting take. He says that Sarai is the virtue, and Abraham is the wisdom, and Sarai is, as a virtue, is needed in Egypt, in the world of duality, in the world of the form. The virtue is needed. So she is being taken to Pharaoh. Sarai has the value, and this is very interesting. Sarai has the value of 510. 1 second, there's a pen here. Second. Sarai. A second, the pen's not writing. $510. What happens when we divide this value into 6?
Mila, 85.
85. 85 is the value of Milah. Milah is a word. Second, the pen is not writing. Is a word. So what happens?
80.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Just one
Yes.
thing to add something from what Ruth said. That is the same idea that is being progressing. Just this expression ki kaved, right? We can take with the word kaved if we exchange the kuf, that is 20,
Kaf.
or the resh, that is 200.
Yes.
We can obtain the word davar, right? And so because the word was feeling hungry in the land, because
I would like
just
yes. I would like to move with the text and with you. 1 second, I would like to write. Ki kaved, let's focus. I have a problem with the pen at the moment, but I'll try to do my best. Yes. You said that. Ki kaved. Can you repeat, please?
Yes, I was just thinking that with the same letters kaved, we can, with that operation that you teach us, that you can extend is bahar, I think.
Yes.
We can exchange the kuf for the resh, you know,
Yes. Yes.
and
1 second.
it becomes, and we can form the word davar.
Yes. I'm sorry that I have a problem today with the pen. I'm very sorry. But kaved, heavy or sore, in code ik bahar is that 1 and 10. I cannot write, I just have to speak. Ik bahar means that aleph equals yod equals kof, meaning 1 equals 10 equals 100, and bahar mean bet equals 2 equals kaf, which is 20 equals resh, which is 200. And according to this code, if we change the kaf, which is 20, 1 second, the kaf, which is 20, in resh, which is 200, we have the word davar. Davar is a word. Kaved. So now try, Ruth and Fernando, try to express why Abraham approaches Egypt.
Because the word was, it was lacking the word. And one more operation is that the expression ki
Yes.
was written yesterday from Luria. He makes an operation with the word ki.
Yes.
Because he speaks that the kaf is 20, and the yod in its feeling, you also can take 20. You know? So we can take 40 with the kaf and yod. So the word was with the 40 was in exile, was manifested in the, like Fireman also speaks. So I don't know if I make myself clear, but just I can see this idea that Ruth bring in the first place about the feminine land. It is related with the lacking of the divine word, divine speech.
Yes, the lacking. Yes, it's silence. Like we say when we enter a room and we feel there is a sense of heavy silence. There are all kinds of silence. There is a silence of concentration. There is a silence of elegance. There is a silence of soon something will start, exciting silence. But sometimes there is a silence of heaviness because people cannot speak. And then they approaching Egypt, Mitzrayim, Tsar, the land of the four, or a place when there's time, and in time we always have revelation of something. And what happens? Sarai, yes, he asked Sarai, yes, why does he tell her, now I know that you're a fair or beautiful woman? There is a question that the sages are asking. He lived with her for quite a while. He did not know that she is like fair to look at. It's not about the physical appearance, of course. What does he mean by his speech?
Well, he sees the virtue that he needs to get through this period of time. Finally, it's sometimes a person can only draw on a source of virtue or a source of strength when they're in difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe up until now he hasn't come to that place. He's just come out of his former land, and he maybe took things for granted, and so now he has to draw on virtue, and that's that part of him, that's the hidden part of him, as he looks on her and he's in difficulty.
True. True. Sarai has to descend to Egypt and to meet Pharaoh. But if Sarai is not a historical figure, as we say, according to the value of Sarai, 6 times we find the value of 85 in the value of Sarai, and 6 symbolizes the 6th day of creation or time. So Sarai symbolizes the word, or if we anagram the word, we rearrange the letters. This is basically the word for shir. Shir is a song or a poem. So there is a revelation of a song of the word when they are coming or approaching Egypt, because song as a musical form or just rhymes, they can only appear in time. They cannot appear in silence. The word and the song, they can only appear in time. This is why Sarai is approaching, or she's descending basically to Egypt. We can also take it from another angle. Egypt is the world of duality, and the virtue has to descend, that we will have a relation to the infinite through the divine word, through the song, because it's a mean of communication. So whether it's a word or a song or a virtue, it's a mean of communication. This is why Sarai descends to Egypt, to time, to the world of time. Avram is a high father, or the soul. The soul, Avram, the soul is remaining in a way high. We could look at Abraham as a soul and Sarai as the virtue. The virtue is married to the soul. It's another part of the mirror. The soul mirrors itself here through the virtue, through the song, or through the word. This is why Sarai is descending to Egypt. Now, there is a beautiful thing to look at the name of Pharaoh, because if the story is not a historical story, Pharaoh has the value of, and here we come to your question, Rose, at the beginning of this conversation. Pharaoh has the value of 355, like a lunar year. Pharaoh, now this is it. We could look at Pharaoh or the lunar year as unconscious. This is one aspect. Another aspect, machshava, thought. Machshava is a thought. Machshava also has the value of 355. Can you help me with the word thought in English? Can you help me spell it? Hello?
T
Yeah.
B
T
H H
Yes? Oh,
O
you.
U G H O U. Go ahead. Go ahead.
T H O U G H T.
Thank you.
O U G H
HT.
T.
Thank you.
T.
T. Yes? So,
No, you had it right.
thank you. So, Pharaoh, not as the Egyptian king, but the divine or our thought, human thought, which is limited in space and time, tries to catch Sarah, tries to catch the virtue, to annex the virtue, but it is impossible to have a grasp on a virtue. Like in the opening of Elijah, no human can catch the divinity. So Pharaoh, the thought or the unconscious, depends of how we enter this reading, this verse, tries to hold on, to have a possession, to hold it, yeah, to have a possession on the virtue, on the song, on the divine word, and it does not go. You cannot hold it. It's just like we see it and suddenly there's a remembrance coming or something comes to us. It just appears in front of our eyes and then disappears. We cannot hold on it because it's infinite movement. The universe is infinite movement of being, which is singing and happening and growing and does infinite things all the time, so we cannot catch it.
Yeah. This you were saying about this, it made me think about the Egyptian pharaohs and royalty, how they buried with them their pets and their different material things to go to the next world, not realizing that these things were not transferable.
Mm-hmm. You mean that in the graves of the pharaonic kings, they used to take properties with them to the next world?
Yes,
Yes, yes,
yes,
yes.
yes.
Virtue is not property. You cannot take it, you cannot capture it. It's impossible. It is
Right.
impossible. This is it. So let's try to put all of this kind of thinking together. There is a famine, not famine like you say, a lack of something, the lack of the divine word, a lack of humanity, a lack of truth. On one hand, on the other hand, nothing. The silence is heavy, and there is a need to have a relation to the revealed life which are appearing in time. So this is why they are approaching Egypt. Abraham, like the soul, this is one take, stays the soul never descends. The soul is always hovering above our head, never just communicate. It's not the body, yes? It's like a satellite dish. It never goes too much inside. And Sarai, as I would say, agent of the soul, the virtue, as like the other side of the soul, appears, mirrors itself in space and time, but she's transparent, she's fair, and Pharaoh cannot catch her, cannot put his hand on her, nothing. It is for us, it's not about a historical king. We, as a thought, we are a thought which appears in space and time. We cannot catch, we cannot have holding on a virtue. We can practice to have a relation of truth to the virtue. We can always try to be better, to live with a virtue as a friend, but we cannot capture it. As Philon says, this is quite interesting to read the text as it is. because it is not like historical. It demands a lot of introspection to see all of this. And I would like to hear you now. What is your impressions from this conversation? And we did not even approach Avimelech because it's a long story. But just as the stories are represented to you now, what do you think about it? How do you see this?
I just had an image pop in my mind as you were talking, actually. I came past a post on Facebook just the other day of someone posting a picture of a laid out human nervous system without the rest of the structure, from the brain down to the toes, and all of it is connected, and it was laid in the shape of a body. And right now, as you were explaining that, this came into my mind, and a realization came with that connection as well, that we are the manifested of the entire consciousness. But the part that caught me just now is that even though that's the case, we still remain separate. And that really just caught me just then. Image that popped into my mind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Most welcome. This is why the virtue is a good friend. The virtue can always connect us. Our bodies, the fact that we are appearing here in bodies separates us. And the friend, the virtue connects us. It's true.
It's interesting that even though it's connected to start with, and we are a part of it, that we still remain our own separate fraction from it our entire life.
True. It's true.
Being connected.
Correct.
I was thinking in terms of the conversation, that God spoke the thoughts of God. God spoke, and things became what He spoke into existence, and how Pharaoh also spoke, and things happened that that Pharaoh saw himself as a god, and that Pharaoh spoke and things came into existence. But his thoughts were not above God's thoughts. And just comparing the two, the thoughts of God versus the thoughts of human beings, and how human beings sometimes try to take on the role of God, and also how God gave Adam, one of the abilities God gave Adam was the ability to name, he deferred some of Adam. God's ability was given to Adam in that God gave Adam the ability to name the living things that existed on the earth, to capture them in his own thoughts, apart from God.
Questions, Bruce, maybe?
Hello, Eti.
Yes, Fernando.
It is amazing, it is beautiful, and so many ideas came. If I may share just one, some is that the virtue is always on the move, right? It is not something static that you can use whatever you want. It is something that it seems that is needed to always be moving. I don't know.
True.
And the second idea that came is about this thought, because sometimes our mind is our pharaoh.
True.
I it is interesting when I was listening to a lecture last week about a man that was a judge here in my region, and he was speaking about Nietzsche and speaking how bad is life in this earth, like very nihilistic. The man was like everything is bad, very, very, very going to the darkness. And I was just thinking, how can one not see the beauty of the world, and the things that happen in our daily lives. So sometimes our thoughts can be very dark and want to have control above everything. So I was just thinking about these ideas that are so beautiful, and I thank you. Yes.
Most welcome.
I just wanted to go back to what you said about the name Sarah and the Hebrew word for song.
Mhm.
And, virtue, although it's something that's, it as a term, it's an abstract term. Yet when you said it's 6 times the word. Then it should be able to manifest itself in the correct words, and even songs which are higher or even deeper within the soul or within the person to come forth in time. Because you said last week, sound which is feminine is only heard in time.
True.
Whereas the virtue is over and above. So to make it manifest, it has to come out in some sort of sound, which is the word.
Excellent.
Because when the word is spoken, it actually it goes into the manifested. If it's not spoken, it's still hidden. So Sarah, suddenly Abraham maybe realizes this. Or when I say Abraham, I mean the spirit within man. We should suddenly realize that we have virtue, but we have to manifest it. It must come out.
Excellent.
In space and time.
Excellent truth.
This is what Philon says. He says, what is the benefit of a good singer if he cannot use his voice to sing? Because his singing is a manifestation of a divine ability. What is the usage or the benefit of a guitar player or sitar or ancient instrument of his time if he doesn't play his instrument? What is the benefit of the divine word if it is not manifested or being heard by a similar kind of life that can receive it in simplicity? Virtue, we say in English, verita, truth. Yes, all of those words are connected.
T,
Yes.
if I may ask you, I would like to ask you how could you describe what is virtue. I'm saying this because we can take a treatise on virtues. We can take a book from Aristotle or from Saint Thomas de Aquinas and others about what is virtue. And even somebody, you can have somebody that says to you what is a virtue. And I am struggling with this. What Philon what is this virtue that Philon is speaking?
The virtue is that it comes as in a different definitions. One of them is the divine logos, the ability to express ideas in a very clear, transparent way that give calm and peace to the speaker and to the surroundings. The virtue is good. It cannot cause any opposite of good. It's just good. Like we speak about the light. The light is good. It cannot cause any other disturbances. The virtue will not do something extra, more or minus. It is good in its completeness.
Can we say that virtue is that which brings life or sustains life?
Yes, definitely. There was just a little quote yesterday from a binary book about Hebrew astrology, and the Hebrew astrology is different than what is familiar in our time as Babylonian astrology. What is Babylonian astrology is the 4 elements, fire and water, and so I believe that everybody met those terms, but the Hebrew astrology is different. The Hebrew astrology takes the 12 signs and it says the following. Second, there are 12 signs, but unlike the Babylonian, which are dividing it like 3, 4, like 3 signs in each element, in the Hebrew astrology is a bit different. It goes like Pythagoras triangle. We have 3 signs, which are male, 4 signs, female, and 5 signs, which Weinreb calls them fruit, or the temple. Depends on how Weinreb. How do I spell fruit? Can you tell me?
That's correct.
Food,
Yes.
FOOD.
1 second. Fruit. Fruit. And why do I start with the Hebrew astrology? Because the 3 zodiac sign considered to be the male are Virgo, and then we have Libra, and then we have Scorpio. This is a completely different take, and Weinreb says why. Because the Babylonian astrology is people try to tell you when people will get married and when will they win the lottery. They try to find a job and when will it happen. But this is not it. The Hebrew astrology does not try to find the future, what will happen the next Tuesday at 5 p.m. This is not it. The Hebrew astrology says that each and every one of us consists of the 12 signs. And this is how it starts. But it's completely different. So why did I come to speak about Hebrew astrology? Because Fernando was asking me about how can we define virtue, and also Shelton says what generates life. The virtue generates life. And this is it. This is it. Please see how the words virtue and Virgo and Verita are connected. Also Ruth, the name Ruth is also connected. Please pay attention to the letters. Questions or thoughts?
So, virtue is what brings life from the other side.
Yes.
It was something like this.
Yes.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
I was looking up the definition of veritas, and one of the definitions is truth, particularly of a transcendent character. Transcendent.
Sure.
Can I also ask Shelton if it has anything in there written about Veritas being Latin as well?
Yeah, it says in Roman mythology, Veritas, meaning truth, is a goddess of truth, a daughter of Saturn, and the mother of Virtus. She is also sometimes considered the daughter of Jupiter, or creation of Prometheus. I could go on, but this is some of the Latin Roman connection. I think if that answers your
The good
question.
definition, Shelton. The Latin Roman connection. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Someone said you
I wanted to ask.
Yes.
I wanted to ask a question. It's not necessarily about what we've been discussing, but maybe we could talk about it at a future date. But I was looking at Genesis 6:8,
Mm-hmm.
and it says that Noah, before the flood, found grace with God. And I was wondering, in the Hebrew, what does it mean that he found grace with God?
Mm-hmm. He found a hidden wisdom. The Hebrew says, "V'Noach matza chen," and Noah found grace. V'Noach. I'm sorry, the board today is a bit clunky. 1 second. V'Noach matza chen. V'Noach matza chen. Grace. The English takes the word chen and say this is grace. But if we look at the Hebrew letters, each letter in the Hebrew stands for a word. Chet for chokhmah, wisdom, and Nun 5 for hidden. Chokhmah, wisdom, and Nun, which is 50, for Nistav, hidden, the hidden wisdom. So what does it mean that Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord?
And maybe he found a perspective or an insight that only comes from God. He began to see the world from God's perspective, perhaps.
Excellent. Yes.
Two little ideas. The first one, you said about the Babylonian astrology and the Hebrew astrology. We have that expression that I'm not sure if I will speak it right, but it's like Ein Israel, I think that is. There is no sign for the people of Israel. It is not speaking about the people that was born in Israel, but one who is related with the tree of life, maybe. Uh, we do not have signs for the one who is with the tree of life, like horoscope or something like this. Because the horoscope is related with the animal part, maybe. Is that right?
This is very right. Very right.
And the second thing that I was thinking it's about this relation with the 3, the 4, and the 5. And I would like to ask you if we could relate the 5 with the symbol and with the
Excellent.
symbolic view.
Yes, the symbol, yes. Excellent symbol. Yes. Yes. Symbol, the dream, the child, the temple, the full hand perspective, Sinai. This is five times. The tetragrammaton, Sinai, love as well. Yes. Even Sulam, this is interesting because 5 times 26 is the value of the word Sulam, the letter that Jacob was having here, the letter. And if we rearrange, anagram the word Sulam, I'm sorry I don't have connection now with the whiteboard, but you can maybe think about it. Sulam, if we write the word Sulam in a different order, we get Semel. If we write Samech, Mem, Lamed, again, Samech, Mem, Lamed, it means Semel. Semel means in English symbol. Did I answer?
Wow.
Yes?
Yes. Amazing. Thank you.
It seems that I don't have the whiteboard. Do you see the whiteboard? I'm sorry, there is no connection at the moment. Service.
We're disconnected.
Yeah, there is a service problem. I'm sorry.
And I was thinking that as you've been speaking, Fernando, and so forth, that this idea of truth that Abraham, the truth of Abraham that he lived with was that Sarai was his wife, but that he was afraid to share that truth with the Egyptians, with Pharaoh, and this idea that the truth that also sets us free, is the truth that also can endanger us.
Not endanger us in the way.
Can be dangerous, can cause us to fear. The truth is not always easily revealed. That it sometimes causes us to, like Abraham, to hesitate. He did not reveal that Sarah was his wife because of he feared that they would kill him. And this idea that sometimes truth is costly. Truth is perhaps it comes with some danger. Yeah.
We can try to read this, that he was afraid that. This is interesting how to read this text in this way. Why he's afraid that he would be harmed. Yes, the soul. Because if Sarah is the virtue and somebody has possession on the virtue, this is the essence of the soul. The soul is a virtue. The soul is unseen. We cannot see the divine soul. We can see actions, meaning we can see a person who writes a letter, makes a cup of coffee, taking a walk. We see that the actions which are coming as a consequence of a man or a human has a soul, but we cannot see the soul. So we could say that Abraham was afraid that once the virtue is being captured, this is the death of the soul. They
There's
say,
also
yes,
go for it.
yeah. He says about the Egyptians, they will take you and they will kill me. Once the virtue is being taken, the soul is just, this is the essence of the soul. The soul is a virtue. But since we don't recognize the soul because it's invisible, we just see actions which are coming or being manifested by the soul. It comes through the virtue. The virtue can come and dress itself in the dressing of the 6 days in time. This is why one lore says that, even Weinreb speaks about it. He put Abraham put Sarah in a box. This is one lore says that he was afraid that they were coming to Egypt. He hid it in a box. I cannot draw now because the board is not working. But imagine that we can draw a box. The box has 6 faces, 4 sides and up and down, so 6 faces. So what does it mean to put Sarah in a box? Is the word is being heard, manifested or communicated in time. Yes, Philip. Yes, what did you want to say?
Ecclesiastes 1:18. But in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow.
Yes.
I was thinking, not in addition to what's just been said, Etty, and just over the weekend, and it kind of ties in with what you were talking about. This idea that if there's no enemy within the soul, then the enemy outside can do us no harm. There's a place within that cannot be harmed. Not sure what your thoughts are on that, but or anyone else listening for that matter. But it strikes me that the soul is not a material thing.
Excellent. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not. A guest in time. A guest which is walking through us in time. Thank you for coming here today. Are there any questions that you would like to ask? Ruth, Fernando, Luke maybe would like to speak. Sheldon, Philip, is there any question on your heart, on your mind that you would like to share?
Just
Good
wish
morning
to
to
thank
everybody.
Good
The,
morning.
the, yeah.
Yeah.
The one last thing I wanted to say, because I think it ties in. There's a scripture that says, "Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life." And if we see the heart as heart, the mind, and the soul and intellect, that this soul we have to guard,
Yes.
because this is where the life force, the virtue springs from the soul.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you. Luke, Fernando, did you want to say something? If not, I would like to thank all of you for coming here, for being here with us, for asking questions, for being friends. I would like to wish all of you a very good week. And we shall meet here on Thursday. Thank you so much and wonderful week.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom,
Great
shalom.
weeks.
Thank you so
Shalom.
much.
Hello.